Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, breaking down 5 potential trades that the Toronto Raptors could make for a center. Now, this has been a topic of discussion for the past this year and last year, ever since we lost Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka, and I was inspired by a Reddit post that was made on r/Toronto Raptors that was really well written, well broken down. I wanted to give my takes on some of the same players, add in a couple guys, take a few guys away in this video here. So shout out Kaz on Reddit, that's his name, and we're gonna be diving into some players. So without wasting any time, let's dive straight into it. And the first guy that we're gonna be breaking down is Jalen Smith of the Phoenix Suns. Former 10th overall pick just a couple seasons ago for the Phoenix Suns, only 21 years of age, and he's a young 6'10" prospect that's playing in Phoenix that has been given up on by this squad. Now, obviously, he hasn't been able to get that many minutes. You can see the stats. I'll throw the stats back up on the screen. It pops up. I hope you guys like the new graphics. But only 3 points per game, 2 rebounds this season. And, doesn't get that many minutes, doesn't get that much opportunity. Obviously, with DeAndre Ayton there, a bunch of guys. The Phoenix Suns are in win now mode, so they don't have the time to develop a young, raw prospect. And with the Toronto Raptors, where I'm still high on this team, I think this roster built together can make a run, make a push in these playoffs. And I know my take looks good at sometimes, and the Raptors, they're a roller coaster this year, but there's certainly opportunities for a younger guy to come in. We're seeing it with Precious, and I've been spewing the Precious propaganda all year, and Jalen could come in and get opportunities specifically when the Raptors are a little bit outsized or undersized, because obviously everyone on our roster right now, even Kem Birch, Precious, they are 6'9". Jalen Smith's only 6'10", but that's still more of a traditional size for a center, and he can come in, he can play defense, he can work out the kinks, and we'll see. We could potentially see if he'd work out. Obviously, I'm surprised the Phoenix Suns, they're not extending his contract going into next season, so that might be a red flag for other teams that obviously are still trying to get a read on this player, see if he's actually good, because he hasn't really been able to get on the court for the Phoenix Suns, but that raw potential is there, and even if you have to stick him in the G League, could a potential trade work? Who really knows? But what trade could potentially go down if we're breaking out the trade machine, a potential trade machine? And people are saying Chris Boucher for Jalen Smith and maybe another player on that squad, maybe a Cameron Payne, even though he's not one of the long boys that the Toronto Raptors are usually interested in. But that's a deal. I don't know if Masai Ujiri would have to see a lot of potential in Jalen Smith, and a former lottery pick, only 2 seasons into his career. Obviously, big men, they take a while to develop. Could be a risk worth taking. Let me know in the comment sections below, because I know he's a guy that a lot of people have brought up on different podcasts. But next player we're going to talk about, player number two, is a guy that I brought up on multiple occasions on this podcast, and that's Stinky Pinky, Kristaps Porzingis, who, as of late, after coming back from injury, has looked really good. 19 points per game, 8 rebounds and assists, close to 2 blocks, a steal, and with Luka Doncic out, the test will really be put on Kristaps Porzingis to see if he can play, get his game to the next level. But Kristaps is a guy that his value is very hard to determine. And the Dallas Mavericks have obviously been in discussions with the Toronto Raptors, specifically surrounding a guy in Goran Dragic. And if you go back a couple weeks ago when Stinky Pinky and Kristaps Porzingis was injured, people were saying, is Kristaps even gonna ever, is this contract untradeable? Is this a max deal that no one would look for? Who really knows? And then you go to this week. Honestly, I bought low on Kristaps Porzingis for people that have been following the fantasy league. I traded for him, and he's been balling out ever since, so I love it. But he's a guy that can certainly shoot the three, can stretch the floor, he can score in the paint in theory with those turnaround jump shots, because he is 7'3". Right, certainly taller, 6 inches taller than the tallest guy on our roster currently. He can block shots, but obviously the reason that we get flamed whenever we bring him up is, his health. Can he do that? Will he be able to fit in with this Raptors roster? Now, a couple seasons ago, we were on a list of teams that he wanted to get traded to, and then he was obviously traded to the Dallas Mavericks, but I don't know. I've always been, I've liked the idea, the potential of a Stinky Pinky trade, but it's tough to make the money work in terms of value you're sending out. And if the Dallas Mavericks, they're looking to play the market, they want to sell high, right? And then we send in Goran Dragic, a player that they're interested in, and maybe a Boucher as well. I'd take that risk. I think that's a very low risk maneuver trade, as even though the contract could sort of handcuff the Raptors in terms of signing players in, we don't really do that often, regardless of the season. So I wouldn't mind bringing in Stinky Pinky because there's a positional need there, and you're not giving up that much value. Boucher, I'm still high on Boucher. I higher than most, I guess, at this point, but sending him back to Dallas, sending Goran Dragic there, and then they might view it as, we're getting off of Kristaps' contract after he's played well for a week. So that's an interesting deal. I obviously don't want to get too, I don't know how realistic it is, how much they value Kristaps Porzingis there in Dallas, because there's conflicting reports happening all the time, and he has been playing well as of late. So getting a 2010 guy could be a cool fit. And I guess I'll stick it with a similar Dallas Mavericks player. I think I said top 5 guys. I have 2 Mavericks players in there, so this is a guy I want to tack onto the Stinky Pinky combo. But Moses Brown, clearly you can see his stats, 1,000%, 100% from the field this season. So that's something you got to talk about. He's a 0% from the 3-point line, only averaging 1 point per game, but he has not gotten an opportunity, and their front court is bloated down there for the Dallas Mavericks. They got obviously Kristaps, Kleba, Boban, all these guys. Willie Cauley-Stein, Dwight Powell. So Moses Brown is deep in that pecking order. So Dwight Powell is also another guy people are interested in, but he's also a smaller center. So I'd rather have Precious and Birch playing over Dwight Powell, if we're going to be honest. You want something that's tall, and Moses Brown is a 7'3" guy. So maybe if they're not accepting a Dragic Boucher, maybe a first or something for Stinky Pinky, maybe you could trade Dragic for Moses Brown. But again, he's very raw, very, very raw. More raw maybe arguably than Jalen Smith. Who really knows, though? He did have some big games for Oklahoma City last year, but we'll see. We'll see if that trade ends up going down. There was reports coming out saying it was guaranteed a Moses Brown Dragic trade was happening October 1st. Clearly, November 16th right now is the recording. This deal hasn't gone down, so those reports were clearly false. So maybe we'll end up getting Moses Brown after all. But the next player we're talking about is a guy that I think is pretty interesting, in Marvin Bagley. And I got his stats from last year on the screen now: 14 points per game, 7 rebounds. He's been injured a bunch over the past few seasons, so it's tough to really quantify his game into numbers. But he came into this year and dealt with a pretty interesting situation there in Sacramento. There's moments where people were saying that will Marvin Bagley, right? Will he get traded? The Pistons are a team that's come out now that's saying they've expressed interest. His agent essentially came out and made a report saying that the Sacramento Kings have told him straight up they have 0 plans for playing him this season, and he's not in the rotation. He's not in their plans, and they have their guys in Rashawn Holmes, right, who's their starting center. They have this new guy, Metu's in the starting lineup. Harrison Barnes has played a bit of 4 for them. They've been running the small ball with Halliburton, Fox, and Davion Mitchell, and they just said, Bagley, with all your injuries, we're not dealing with you at this point. And obviously, for a guy that does put up solid numbers, right? Puts up solid numbers. It's surprising to see that happen. So clearly he's on the block, and I feel like he could be gotten for pennies on the potential dollar, the potential golden coin of former number 2 overall pick. The Raptors could sort of slide in and grab a guy there in Bagley, and the fact that his contract expires at the end of the season, it's worth the risk. It's worth the risk, even if he's trash and he's injured and all that sort of stuff. You can get him on the cheap, right? I'd be surprised if Masai Ujiri doesn't at least make a push for Marvin Bagley. Take that risk and see what happens, right? Because he's a true 6'11", 7 foot. He can, in theory, shoot the basketball. Doesn't have the greatest 3-point percentages in his career, but he can finish around the lane. The defense is a question mark, but as we've seen with guys throughout the league, because he does have the physical attributes, right? He's long, wiry, could in theory be a solid defender in terms of blocking shots and being a help side guy, maybe in a Raptor system where, I guess we do switch everything, so he might get burnt out on the 3-point line. But if Nurse adjusts things adjusts his schemes for Marvin Bagley, maybe we could get the most out of him on the defensive end. So that's something I'd be interested in. The injury concerns are a big factor for him, but I don't know. Maybe you can always get players from the Kings, as we've learned in the past. So maybe Marvin Bagley's a guy that we could potentially acquire from Sacramento. But the next player we're talking about is another player that's been chatted around over the past couple seasons. Probably the best player on this list outside of Stinky Pinky so far is Mo Bamba. Obviously has the song about him, averaging close to 12 points per game, 12 and 10, 2 assists, 2 blocks per game, a steal. And if I throw those stats back up onto the screen, right, shooting 36% from the three-point line. And that's something that's pretty exciting. Now, Mo Bamba's in a very interesting situation there in Orlando this year because, they've had Vucevic for a while, and he never got the opportunity to play. He never got the opportunity to get on the court. People knew Mo Bamba for the song, for the banger that would be played on the radio, wherever it would be too. And he didn't get the opportunity to get on the court there for the Orlando Magic oftentimes. So, what happens when a guy's out of sight? They think he's trash. You think he's trash. Khem Birch, our guy currently on the Toronto Raptors roster, is playing over him in Orlando, and they traded Birch away last season. They waived him, so the Raptors picked him up. And then they got rid of Nikola Vucevic. And they said, okay, now Mo Bamba might get an opportunity. But then they bring back Wendell Carter Jr., who was the centerpiece in that Chicago Bulls trade. And they sort of it looks like Mo Bamba's out of the picture once again. Jonathan Isaac and Wendell Carter could be the starters. But this season, Mo Bamba, they've been starting him at the power forward position down there in Orlando. And he's played really well. I showed the stats. His defense is elite. He's finishing around the rim, and he can knock down the three ball, which is super exciting for a center that's athletic and a great defender, right? Obviously, his big question coming in, he was very small and thin-framed, and he get pushed around, he get bullied. He looked like a teenager going up against the true bigs in the NBA, even though the NBA is a lot of stretch fives these days, but Bamba just couldn't score in the paint, but he's gotten a lot bigger. He's got those long arms, the wingspan. He's a true 7-footer, right? 7'1", I believe, 7'1", 7'2", and can really get his game going. So I'm high on Mo Bamba. A trade, I think, for him would be more costly for the Toronto Raptors. I think we'd have to give more up to get Mo Bamba back. That could mean a Malachi Flynn, potentially, a Boucher. I don't know if the Magic would actually be that interested in Malachi, as they they currently have a bunch of guards and Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony, RJ Hampton. So it'd be tough to see a deal potentially working there with Mo Bamba. I know a lot of people have said maybe flip Siakam for one of these true centers, and I think that would be insane to do for Mo Bamba, unless you're getting I don't even know if there's any other guys on the Orlando Magic roster I'd want back in a potential package there. So maybe a 3-team deal could work out. It's tough to see the specific trade, the 1-for-1 trade with the Toronto Raptors team, but who knows? Masai Ujiri, if he wants a player, he can definitely probably get him. So Mo Bamba's a guy that I wanted to bring up, but if a deal, would the Orlando Magic accept a Chris Boucher, Malachi Flynn, and if you want to get crazy with it, if you want to get wild, because the Toronto Raptors obviously have a lot of guys that play those guard positions, right? Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr. now, Scotty Barnes, OG Anunoby, right? They're all vying for minutes, and with Siakam back and usually the need to play a true center, right? One of those guys we thought would go to the bench, but we've been running Siakam at the 5, and I think that's a big part of why we're losing these games, not because Siakam's back, but we just don't have a true big man out there for most of the game. Would Trent for Bamba absolutely devastate people? It would probably devastate me. I'd want a better player in return, I guess, for Trent, but positionally, could make sense for both teams, including the Orlando Magic. So I don't know. Let me know what you think of a Trent for Bamba trade down below. I think that could be a wild maneuver that shakes up the Toronto Raptors team, definitely. And I don't know if it'll make us better. I don't know if it's good long term, because Trent, I am extremely high on Gary Trent Jr., but that could be a deal that works out. We're really breaking out the trade machine in this video. Trent for Mo Bamba. That would be absolutely wild. But there's one more trade. I guess if you count Moses Brown and Stinky Pinky in one, then it's still only 5 players. So our 5th technically guy is Naz Reid from the Minnesota Timberwolves, averaging 9 points, 3 rebounds off the bench this season, about a block a game, a steal, and he can knock down the 3 ball. 33% from the 3-point line this season, but about 36% last year. And he's a guy that's a big man from Minnesota, 7-footer, can get some rebounds, can hustle, can be a true guy. He's done a good job at backing up Karl Anthony Towns last year, and I think he could be a solid insurance big man for this Toronto Raptors team. When we need that 7-footer, right? Precious isn't going for us, and then, we're just undersized. He could be a guy that can throw out there, knock down the 3-point shot, which is key, and definitely do stuff for you on the offensive end and be a big body to throw at some players down low. He has dealt with some injuries. He's currently dealing with a day-to-day thing for Minnesota, but I don't know. That's a guy that I could see us potentially going after. It's one of those insurance guys that if we are good this season, just it's nice having him on your roster. A better Greg Monroe, I'd look at him as. And I think there's a need for the Minnesota Timberwolves to get a deal like this done, potentially bringing in a guy like Goran Dragic that's a veteran point guard, because the Timberwolves want to be good. This is the big thing about Minnesota. They want to be a solid team. However, they if you look at their previous games, D'Angelo Russell's trying to take it over himself down the end, and they just don't really have that true leader, right? Patrick Beverley, when he's healthy, when he's playing, is the emotional leader, but he's obviously never been known for the greatest decision-making. D'Angelo Russell's obviously a great scorer, but he loves to chuck up those shots at the end of games, and there's a big issue, and Cat has expressed his frustrations, or at least on the court visually, about not getting the basketball, and if you throw Goran Dragic on that team, I know he's more of a score-first player over the course of his career, but he knows the right plays to make, and you definitely get more of an opportunity down there in Minnesota. I don't know. I think a Dragic for Naz Reid trade could potentially work out. Might have to make the money work a little bit differently, but that's something I could see potentially happening for this Toronto Raptors team. Obviously, all these are hypothetical right now. I'm breaking them down because of the inspiration from this Reddit post that went down. Shout out to, once again, Kaz on Reddit who put that one up. So I hope you guys like the new style, the new setup of the pods. We've got some new animations, new graphics going. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Also, merch giveaway at 22k subscribers. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And we're giving away this fire hoodie. So we want to see someone rock it, looking fresh, looking fire. But you guys are the best to make this fire. Check out the Instagram, the TikTok, the Twitter, all that cool stuff. Join the channel membership down below. The link is down below. The merch, so holiday season's coming around. No better gift to give someone than a Raptors Digest hoodie. We're getting some new designs coming too, so that's on the way. But anyways, enough of me rambling. You guys are the best. I'm signing off. Cheers.